up here. Hey, y'all. Oh, and Piper is, of course, joining the party.
Always joining the party.
We're going to give everybody a minute to get the notifications that we're live and to possibly pop in. But we do have some questions that were preemptively sent to us, and we also have plenty to chat about in terms of this month's Love While Awake community circle. So maybe we should do that first. Maybe we should talk about this month's. So this month for our Love While Awake Community Gather Circle, we are inspired by the tarot card, the Moon. So for those of you who read tarot or familiar with tarot, we found a lot of inspiration from the Divine Feminine, from a lot of management based in our emotions and how we manage our emotions. And so through that, we were inspired with a lot of our topic matter of tuning into your untamed wild, taking care of yourself, creating rituals around that, and honestly, the heart and soul of the Divine Feminine, which is desire. So we're going to be talking about all of that this Sunday at 2 p.m. Central. Is there anything else you wanted to say about this month?
Yeah, I think this month is really about everything that Scout just said, but also just doing a lot of reflection, doing a lot of introspection around yourself and your emotions and diving deep with yourself. The Moon card in my tarot deck has an image of a person kind of drowning in the moon's water. And so, sometimes I think a lot about just being so engulfed in ourselves and being so into ourselves that it feels like we're drowning, or it feels like we can't find the way up or out. And so I think we'll be talking a little bit about that too in the session.
Yeah, for sure. Always things come up. Things happen. So the space is really facilitated by us, but it is built and cultivated by who shows up. So we do have a nice little community that we've built, and we have people also that like pop in and out and flow in and out through the months. But if you do decide to add yourself to that space, you will also get a hand in just like dictating what we talk about and sharing what you like. So we just like to make that clear. It is a community circle. We would like to have things to offer, but we are just facilitating something for a community and just for people to learn and have a space to initiate their own self-healing. So so questions.
Questions.
Fun
we
stuff.
love questions.
The fun stuff. I don't know which order these go in, so we can just start.
I think
there we go.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So first question that we received is, how do you personally view unicorns and their hunters? I'm going to put that one on you. I have feelings. Of course I do.
Let's do a quick terminology check. Yeah. So unicorns and their hunters. So unicorns traditionally or more stereotypically known in the ethically non-monogamous space as a single individual. I like to say individual, but I think a lot of the connotation is traditionally around single femme presenting individuals, but I like to say individual because that's more accurate. And hunters are usually referred to as the couples that are interested in dating or seeking to specifically create a connection or relationship with a singular person. And I think that framework is very broad and general, because there are a lot of people who are doing that for a number of different reasons, looking for a number of different things. And so I don't like to generalize in that way. And I think that my opinion on it is the opinion that I have on any relationship, which is as long as that's done intentionally, as long as that's done thoughtfully, as long as that's done from a standpoint of consent with all parties, and that there is healthy, clear communication about what the expectations are and how that relationship is built. I think that people should have whatever relationships and love styles support and match their needs and capacities.
Do what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also the reason why this question comes up, so anyone who is not ethically non-monogamous or just might not be familiar with a lot of this terminology might be wondering like, okay, well, isn't that true about all relationships? Like, yes, we want them to all be consensual and have open communication, but I think this comes up a lot because there is a lot of stereotype as well as a lot of practice of couples who have been together for a long period of time or married for a long period of time, who are then opening up their marriage and seeking to have one partner, because usually there's an illusion of thinking, well, if we have the same partner, it will be less complicated, which is not actually true. But I think that there's an idea of like, we can open up our marriage. One person seems less threatening than two people. So we will both just like date the same person. We will have sex with the same person, or we will just adventure and open up to the same person. And that it is done in a way that centers the couple's relationship, meaning like, we don't really care who this person is or what their life is about or what they're doing. Like, we want them to be here for us and be accepted into our space instead of cultivating a space that you are willing to build with a third person. So I think that sometimes it comes up a lot, especially in terms of like the swinger community, where everything is very sexually driven and driven by a lot of sexual encounter, that there is a lot of stereotype of like, well, you just want to sleep with me because you want to have an adventurous night in your marriage and then forget about me and never talk to me again. That's why this does come up very often. And so it can be done in different ways. And I do think that opening up to the ethical non-monogamy community and the polyamory community, there are plenty of examples of people who have relationships, especially that contain 3 people or just an odd number of people, that do it functionally and well and in terms of a specific relationship. So yeah, just wanted to offer a little bit of context to that.
Yeah.
Second question. That was like almost a 3. Oh, no, this is a 3-part. What kind of poly do you practice?
Is that weird?
You're like, I'm like, vocabulary.
It's a lot. Labels are a lot. They come with a lot of weight. And I'm just like feeling real heavy these days. I'm like, do I want some more weight to my life? No. This is such a good question. And I think that where I am in my life right now is that I am having a large evolution in my love style. And I think that for me, my love style really evolves around this idea of autonomy and agency. And so I think for me that kind of, I guess, puts me more into like the relationship anarchy space, which is that that I build my relationships with individuals, and that is done through a mutual understanding of whatever we agree to that relationship being and becoming, and whatever boundaries and parameters we want to put around that relationship, and that all of my relationships are individuals of each other, and that I have a lot of agency around ensuring that my relationships don't dictate what I do, that none of my relationships dictate what I do in my other relationships. And then there's a large freedom to build things with people in a very communal way.
Yeah. I'm like, yes. I was trying to get out of that one. Yes. No, I feel the same way. I think that coming from a space where when I started the journey of exploring ethical non-monogamy, I was in a long-term, like 10-year relationship. And because of that, and because of also just being married, it was really hard for me to imagine a world of polyamory without hierarchy. Like, it was really hard, even if it wasn't like a hierarchy of love or care. It was just like, but there was always a hierarchy of time. Like, I had been with this person for 10 years. So I was just like, there was always a hierarchy. And that's something that has very recently shifted only because of my relationship with myself. And that is why that's really like the cornerstone of a lot of the stuff we talk about in Love Wild Awake, because when that relationship ended, I became my own primary partner. I became my own number one partner. And I intentionally cultivate that space all the time, even today with multiple partners. I live by myself very intentionally. I still consider myself almost like solo poly in that way, because all of my relationships are very different. All of my relationships have different goals, and sometimes those goals coincide, and then it's really cool, right? And then we get a really cool full polycule experience. But very similar to Sage, like none of my relationships dictate any of my other relationships, and we are all intentionally. I'm very lucky to be in a space where I'm not only intentionally building spaces with my partners that where everybody gets their needs met and everybody has a common goal, but I also have the luxury of being in a polycule where those needs and desires cross-pollinate, and we all are working towards things together. So I'm really working towards what I have always wanted, which is choosing to intentionally build a community and family, which I feel like we all do in different ways. So yeah, that is the answer to question number 2. Question number 3. What's the best part of practicing the type of poly that you practice, in your opinion?
Sorry, do you want to go first?
I feel like I just talked for a long time.
Okay.
So it's totally fine. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Of course. What is the best part? I think the best part of how I explore my love style is that there really is no boundaries to my love. There is just this opportunity to co-create, and there are, for the most part, not a ton of limitations on, and this is how it needs to look. And the idea of like cohabitating with multiple partners and community living is such an interesting concept to me, and a goal of mine, and an outcome that I'm hoping for with this love style, because it shatters that idea that you are supposed to do this difficult thing called life with just one other person, and that you can only build specific relationships in a very specific way, and that they have to fall into these boxes or they're not valid or real. And being able to just shatter those boundaries and just build exactly what it is that I want. There is a magic in living your life that authentically.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's a really great potent medicine in being able to love freely and being able to face yourself in the way that is required, but also as a Virgo, I love personal work. I thrive off that. Like, I'm here in this iteration of this life to continue growing as a human, and I like that stuff, even when it hurts and even when it's hard. I like that stuff. It is a labor of love, and Love Wild Awake, as a brand, as like a gathering circle, as a name, was birthed out of the space of realizing that I wasn't allowed to go to sleep at the wheel in this love style. I was not allowed. And I had done that for a handful of years. I fell asleep at the wheel. I was on autopilot. Everything was easy. I had been with my partner for a handful of years, and it was like, ooh, we got this. And before I even hit 30, I was like, ooh, this is not good. What are we doing out here? And so I think that I like being awake. I like being conscious. I like that it is a constant initiation of conversation with yourself, dealing with your feelings. It is a constant initiation of difficult conversations and discomfort with other people. And that sounds like a nightmare to people who aren't in it. But what is so lovely about it is that it gives you information, data, and evidence that like conflict is not assault, and it's not the end of the fucking world. Like, that's the best thing that I think has happened, is that I have evidence, like by the tons, of being in really difficult conversations with people that I love and it not being chaos. I have evidence in like pure form that I can tell people that they hurt me, that love me, and it not be a fight. Or I can bring something up that I want that has nothing to do with one of my partners, and it's not going to be an argument. And I also am confident that I can hurt people because I'm a human and I hurt people, and that they're not just going to leave me like in a minute. So I think those aspects are very, very that security is very helpful to me when I want to love someone fully and openly. And that's the best part of this is I get multitudes of evidence that I am cared about in my rawest of my human form. So yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, honey.
Question number, I don't even know what number because I don't remember. What's something you really had to work on by doing this type of poly?
Ooh, nobody asked you for that.
I know. I was like, that was a rough question. Everything? What didn't I have to work on?
Yes.
Burn it all to the ground.
Oh, man. Jesus. I think
sorry.
I love you.
I'm only laughing because we literally talk about this all the time. Like we're constantly dismantling our trauma responses to everything.
Ooh, hold on, I need a minute.
Okay, because I can answer.
Yes,
I was like, I have a couple.
Yes,
I have a lot.
Yes,
I have a lot. I have a lot of this.
Yes,
I'm not going to give all of it, but I have a lot of things.
Come on.
One thing that I've had to work on in poly, like since the very, very, very beginning, is learning to ask for what I want. Because, I don't do that, y'all. And anybody on this live who knows me even a little bit in real life knows that is true. I don't ask for anything that I want at all ever. And then usually I'm pissed when I don't get it. So it's just a hard lesson that I've had to learn. And especially just being around more people, loving more people. And even in the terms of like community poly spaces or ethically non-monogamous spaces and having multiple partners involved, you have to be willing to talk about shit. Like you have to be willing to speak and to be uncomfortable and to ask. And I didn't do that for a really long time. And I realized that I was just trying really hard to meet everybody else's needs. And what I got to the core of is that I felt in a lot of my relationships that if I was just like the easy partner, and like this is true in monogamy as well, like if I was just the easy one, people would stay with me and love me because I was easy and they didn't have to put any work into me as a partner because I would just be the perfect easy partner all the time. I would have no needs and I would just run on empty all the time, but somehow be everything that everyone needs. And you would never have to do anything for me because I am not a real human being. Like that was my goal in every relationship that I had. Like my relationship with my parents, my romantic relationships, my relationship with my teachers. It was literally like, I'm going to try to need nothing because then you'll love me more. Like and then in poly, I was doing it even more where I was like, meeting my metamorph's needs and like meeting my partner's needs. I was just trying to meet everybody's needs so that everybody would like me. And I didn't know how to be loved when I wasn't bringing anything to the table. And like, there were times even with my partners when I would just be like, but I don't understand why you want to come over and hang out with me. I'm sick. And they're like, because I'm your partner and I care about you. What the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, I have nothing to offer you. So I'm not really sure why you want to be here. And so I just, it took a lot of dismantling for me. And I feel like this love style awarded me the privilege of learning that a lot quicker because I was having a lot of more relationships at one time. To be honest, it was just one of my partners, Kevin always likes to use the terminology, you get more chances up at bat. So your batting average is better. It was just like you have more success and you learn better because you have more chances up at bat. And in this love style, I get more chances up at bat. So my batting average is getting a little better.
I think one of the biggest things that I had to overcome is my tendency to be a massive self-sabotager. I have a tendency to destroy my relationships in a very big way. And oftentimes that comes from the place of the little cracks and fractures that happen in a relationship that don't get talked about. And then eventually all those cracks and fractures turn into something that is broken and no longer salvageable. And I think that for me, this love style has taught me that I have no more excuses to self-sabotage, right? Because when I was monogamous, there was like, well, there's someone better for me. Or like, like they just don't meet all of my needs. So like, they're the worst. And like, and I need all of these things. And if I'm not getting that, then like, I don't even know why I'm here. And it was easy for me to justify to myself that because of that, it was okay that all of my relationships were ending. And I was, not dealing with all of my trauma responses, not dealing with, what was coming up for me in the times that I was having a fear response or when I was having a trauma response. And instead of running away from that and ending my relationships, coming back and having to do that work with myself to not self-sabotage all of my relationships. And I think that being ethically non-monogamous in multiple partnerships, there's just more people who are also invested in keeping you accountable and more invested in being like, hey, you're not just going to run away from this. Like, this is a relationship and you are invested and we are here and we're going to do this. And I think that touches on something that Scout said earlier, right? About this constant affirmation of data that is like, conflict is not always about chaos or negativity or destruction, that conflict really operates and breeds in a space around healing and building and growing together.
Yes. Yes, but there are also many iterations of answers to that question.
Yes.
So,
yes. I'm sure we'll talk about more of them.
I know. Kim comes in here and she's like, "Oh, this is great.
This is
We're
so
just
fun.
talking about all the good.
The good.
Let's
the second picture. I think we're done with that one.
Okay, cool. Wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Tips on introducing. This one.
Tips on
introducing ethical non-monogamy to a relationship.
Oh, was that the same question? Oh,
yes.
No.
I don't know.
Oh no.
Tips on introducing ethical non-monogamy. I was like, I don't know what's happening. Anyway, but okay. So I feel like this question comes in from people who are in relationships and they're like, hey, I would really love to do this. How do you bring it up and it not be conflict? I have an answer to that, but
no, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like a part of this is, once again, a reason why we both just stated that we really appreciate living in this type of love style and in this type of life that we create for ourselves, because we get to really get to the bedrock of emotional states and relationships. And I think that being afraid to bring something up that is at the root of your desire to a partner is something that is a blind spot in a lot of monogamous relationships, because there is an expectation that even if you get married saying like, I don't expect you to always meet my needs, it is still an unconscious expectation. And then there's an unchecked ego expectation that if you ever want something from anyone else, it means that you like wanted it from me and I didn't give it to you. It means that I'm not good enough. And that it's really hard to introduce any type of concept that really started being about your desires and is now ending up being about somebody else's feelings. And so that is already something that I feel like is a blind spot, that whether it has to do with you opening up your relationship or being ethically non-monogamous or, shopping at a different grocery store is something that you should tend to in your bonds and relationships at all. And maybe it's just a little bit of a calling in how conflict resolution and conflict management exists in your relationship. If you are fearful of bringing things up because you're worried about them being a fight or an argument. And I think that also there's a lot of other directions in which to come at this conversation that is not centered around sexual desire, sensual desire, or, somebody else meeting a need. I think that there is a larger conversation to be had about what are your life goals? What do your ideal relationships look like? What do you think would be brought and cultivated in your life as a result of living this way? And coming at it with yourself, but also with your partner, from that direction, and being able to have compassion for the fact that we are all indoctrinated into this culture where monogamy, sometimes toxic monogamy, is the norm and is the standard, and just being able to offer a lot of comfort for yourself, being able to navigate this, because even if you are full throttle, you and your partner are in agreement and super excited, it is still difficult to make those adjustments and to face those feelings.
Yeah. And I think the two things that I would say is be ready to be radically honest. Radically honest. And by radically honest, I mean stream of consciousness. This is what I'm thinking and feeling about this whole situation and everything that we're doing. And the second thing that I would say is be okay with walking away, because I think that this is a conversation we don't have enough of, where people bring up ethical non-monogamy or different love style relationships, and then it doesn't go well, and then, or the conversation doesn't go well, and then this person stays in a monogamous relationship when they don't really want to be in one. And so if you are in a position of knowing that you are wanting to explore ethical non-monogamy and be ethically non-monogamous, you also need to be ready and willing to walk away from a partner who's not wanting to do that with you. And I also say that from a standpoint of that person can still be monogamous. I know many people who date other people or have other partners, but their nesting partner or the partner that they live with doesn't, or their married partner doesn't have other partners. And there are many iterations and different ways to have these types of relationships. And so I think it's important to remember that just because you are bringing the ethical non-monogamy conversation to the table doesn't mean you're specifically asking for that other person to go out and date other people, and giving the opportunity for like, hey, I'd like to go date other people, and make it about yourself and not make it about the relationship. Because if you're saying we together need to be dating other people, you are asking somebody, you are taking agency away from somebody else's choice. Mm-hmm. And so the question really should be, I'm interested in dating other people. Is that something you'd be okay with? And if the answer is no, and you want to do that, then that's the conversation about leaving, right? And so it's about recognizing that you're not asking somebody to do this with you. You are making a choice to change your love style or adapt your love style. And you are asking if people, whoever is around you, whoever is in your immediate, relationship circle, if they want to participate in that with you or not.
And I think also that this goes back to one of the questions we got at the beginning about unicorns, and why traditionally a lot of people kind of like poo-poo on that, or they think that most of the time they don't work, is because when it is, a long-standing relationship or marriage that is opening up after a long period of time, and it's seen as like, this is something we'll do together, because if we don't do it together, it'll pull us apart. What you're guaranteeing and what you're trying to guarantee is that you both want the same thing out of a relationship. And usually that's not true. I mean, I feel like that's not true for any of it. I feel like, even just us being able to have different relationships of different kinds, it is very rare for two people to want the same type of relationship with the same type of person to get the same type of feedback. And then you're also not taking into consideration that this one person is going to have the capability of meeting both of those different needs for two people. And so that's where that type of dynamic becomes a little bit more complicated in that light. But I definitely like what you said about when you bring it up in existing relationships, that it is very much like you have to be willing to leave, but you also have to be willing to build, and being willing to discuss with them that like, this can look however we want it to look. This can look like us dating someone together. This can look like us dating separate people, and like discussing it with one another. This can look like however we want it to look. And I honestly feel like even in monogamy, like a lot of relationships would be more successful if that's how it was in general. I mean, even in monogamy, if we looked at it in a way of like, but this is still just going to look however we want. Mm-hmm. We can get married. We can not get married. We can be monogamous and not ever be with any other person, but live in two separate houses. Like we can, if we were to approach relationships like that, I feel like more of them would be successful, because we would actually be having authentic conversations around expectation. But we live in this like under this hood of this monogamy structure of this is what love should look like. And that's also another structure that you get to burn down in this love style, is like the Disney, romantic type of like love. Like you get to create it where you want, but also burn down the expectation that takes people away from their humanity, and remembering that like people are just human.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, I just now realized what question you thought that was.
Yeah.
Introducing new partners or potential partners that you are poly and are already with a partner. Okay. So like telling people that you're poly when they want to date you, or telling people that you already have a partner. when you want to date them?
I feel really poorly about this, and I'm going to just say that like this is a shitty answer, and I'm very aware. I don't ever get to a place where nobody knows. So I really just personally feel like I don't have the experience to answer this question, because since the time I've been polyamorous, every single person I've talked to that I would even remotely be interested in knows I'm polyamorous. Yeah. So I feel shitty. I don't think that this is a good question for
Same.
you.
I mean, I feel like, I get if the question is talking about when you're meeting someone, like how that can feel awkward for people to be like,
yeah.
Because
okay,
I've definitely been at like poly cocktails or like just something where it's like people might know that you're poly, but they have no idea if you have partners. They have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Like over here with, thousands of Instagram followers, you're like, everyone just knows my life. Everyone just knows. But I'm over here like, hold on, let me talk about
the educational stage.
People just know me. I don't know how to answer this question. I love you. I'm embarrassing them. Okay. So anyway, I think that in the moment, the part of this that I found really complicated, because I'm also the same. I mean, everyone who knows me for more than 20 minutes knows that I have multiple partners, even if they don't. People who take my yoga class get confused because I'm like, my partner. And then after like my yoga class, they'll see like one partner. And then like later on, they'll catch me at like Thai Fresh with another partner. And I'm like, ooh, yes, you didn't know. I'm sorry. But everybody in my life pretty much knows that I'm ethically non-monogamous. But when I have been in dating situations where people aren't sure of like what my partnerships are like, the thing that has been really frustrating for me is that people constantly ask if I'm single. And I'm like, I never know how to answer that question because the answer is always no. I have not been single since 2008. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not single. Like, and I get so frustrated because then I think it does really just like cancel out a lot of people from even initiating conversation with you because they're so stuck on like, well, even if you did have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or usually they're just assuming, and they're like, even if you did have a boyfriend, it's not my responsibility if you lie. And, you just have to be able to say that you're single. It's like some weird accountability thing. Like, I just want to hear that you're single.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just very like to be able to flirt with you. And it's just very strange to me. I feel like what I wish people would say and what I wish people would ask is, are you available? Because that's usually what I end up replying, is I end up replying to them and saying, I'm not single, but I'm available. And also, even if I was single, that still doesn't mean I'm fucking available. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, there have been many a times in my poly life and career that, sorry, I got of that personally. But in my poly life, there have been plenty of times where I have not been available, despite the fact that, I had partners. I'm just like, I am not available for any of that stuff. That is me most of the time. Let's be honest. It takes a lot of work to get up in here. But I just think that the questions should really be, are you available? And that is a lot more inclusive of other love styles other than monogamy. But yeah, I usually am very, very upfront with the fact that I am probably upfront in a way that I probably wouldn't suggest to the general public, just because I'm like a more harsh human being and people who are around me know that I have a more pointed personality. But I literally have no problem being like talking about my partners and talking about them all the time. And it usually is, if somebody is talking to me, flirting with me, whatever, for more than like 8 sentences, something has come up that relates to one of my partners and I've said it. Like, that's just usually what happens. Oh, my partner, like because that's who I am as a human being. But I do think that I am just very, very, very upfront. And that's also something that I really liked about Sage. And I've seen Sage do this as well with other people. And I have also adopted some of that skill set of being able to do it very openly, of just sitting down with people about intention. And it has always worked out with me. Even if I'm not trying to date that person right away, I'm like, can we sit down and talk about some intention around the fact that I like you? And here is how I operate in that world. And also, as a sense of responsibility and accountability, the polycule that I'm connected with and very close with, this is how we operate as a unit. And like just giving them a real upfront view of like, here's what you're signing on to and subscribing to. Because personally, the way that I'm building my life is I want everyone to be an enthusiastic yes person. I need all of you to be involved in this enthusiastically. And if you don't care, then I usually don't care. Oh, yes, you are chopped liver over here.
Oh, no.
I know. Look at, I'm just irritated. Okay, so irritation is my word of the day, by the way. Irritated is the word. We were talking about being able to say that you're available and not single. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I just really echoing a lot of what you're saying. And this idea too of like, what are you doing out here? Like, and just having that conversation with yourself and having that conversation with other people about what are you doing out here dating? Like, what are you looking for? What are you trying to build? What are you trying to establish for yourself? And I think that's, if we would stop jumping from like, ooh, I'm attracted to this person, so I'm automatically interested in dating them, to like, ooh, I'm attracted to this person and I should probably get to know them a little bit before I make a decision on if I'm going to date them. Because I feel like we go from like seeing each other in person and like, well, whenever that was safe, like physically engaging with each other, or like physically seeing someone or seeing someone's physical presence, and then being like, I'm going to date you. And it's like, you don't know this person. You don't know this person. Mm-hmm. You just see them and you think that because they're attractive to you, that means a romantic relationship is just going to work out. Mm-hmm. And I think something that I'm just thinking a lot about in that process is like, hey, I'm attracted to you. And I want to talk about, who you are as a person and get to know you better, because, I want to see if, we could build a connection, or if there's a possibility for a connection here. And I think, and starting those conversations in that way so early on gets you to a grounding level of like, oh, like that comes out in the first 5 seconds, right? I'm looking to have multiple partners. Oh, well, you are not looking for the same thing as me, or whatever. And I think that kind of framework helps me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of that intention early on. And I think some people might think it's too much, but I'm also like, if you think it's too much, then that means that we're not going to work out. And yes. if these conversations are hard to show up for with you, like, that's really fine. Like, I'm not even judging you. No. I'm just letting you know that like, this might not work out. And I love having those conversations early on, because it allows me to be incredibly honest and flamboyant and over the top about my current feelings, whatever they are, because that's what I like to do. I love to shower affection, but I like for it to be accurate affection. I'm not going to tell you I love you when I met you last week. Like, that's not going to happen. But I also love telling people that like I'm in deep like with them. That's like a new thing that I love being able to tell people, is like, I'm in deep like with you. I like you so much. I think you're so cool. I love being able to flirt with you. You say all of the things that I love to hear. Like, I love giving affirmations. Hello, like, let me give them to everyone all day long. But I also want them to exist in a safe space where it's not this weird thing of, like, what does this mean? And do you like me too much? But you're not giving me this. So does that mean I did something wrong? And just, I want them to exist in a space where people know like, oh, this is who Scout is. She really likes doing this. Wow, she's doing this with me. That means she actually like cares. And like, I want to know how this can land on me. And so I just really want it to be like consensual. And I feel like that's a huge part of it. This is all really small and I can't read any of it.
I can barely read it too. I think we also have a question too, but I'm wondering if maybe we should finish these questions.
Oh yeah, we had a couple of questions in the chat. Let's see.
I think this is the last one of the
Yes,
picture.
It is. Yeah. Best way to explain to a partner that trying polyamory isn't wrong.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that has to do with also just not approaching it as wrong. I think that like we have to stop othering ourselves as people who practice a love style that's different than traditional monogamy. And I feel like we have a tendency to approach polyamory conversations or ethical non-monogamy conversations like we're not supposed to be talking about it. And I think that work starts with ourselves. I don't think we can ask somebody else to not think polyamory or ethical non-monogamy is wrong if we're not already showing up to the conversation with this notion in ourselves that polyamory or ethical non-monogamy is not wrong. And starting and using that as a frame point of like, hey, this is who I am, and this is the way that I am trying to love and I am trying to be, because then that removes polyamory as the thing between you and this person. And now this person just sees you as a person and is like, well, if I think polyamory is wrong, then I think you as a person is wrong. And then that's a very different type of feeling, right?
Yeah. And I also think that like a lot of this is dismantling beliefs in your own mind that have nothing to do with monogamy. It's just like life beliefs. And so a lot of people have that tied to religion or tied to their sense of morality. And for me personally, what I've discovered is that right and wrong is bullshit. Like what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, and what is actually developing that belief in your mind. And I just like to see, I like to take things out of the box of right and wrong because that allows me to remove judgment and to just see things as they are, which is that they exist. And so I just think that's a much larger conversation when it comes to, you know, judgment of right and wrong and what that even means for me personally.
Yeah.
We had stuff in there.
You want to do this one? Oh, we have a few questions.
Look at y'all coming through on Instagram.
Okay. What could someone expect to get out of attending a Love Wild Awake circle? Yes. Sorry. I didn't know if it was going to do something. Or
no, same. I was like, yeah, I think that's fine.
I'm sorry,
I've never done this before either.
Ooh,
okay. Interesting. Okay. I don't know what that's supposed to do.
Sure.
I don't know how to use Instagram anymore. What can one expect when coming to a Love Wild Awake circle stage?
Sure. I think a lot of what I talk about in the circle and something that I think a lot about with the circle is that coming there is really being a part of community and being a part of being able to be in community with other people who are having similar experiences or similar feelings or similar situations, and being able to hear and resonate with one another and build community and get resources. Because I feel like there's so many spaces for monogamous people to go and have conversations about their relationships. And there's just not that many spaces for people who are ethically non-monogamous, polyamorous, or untraditional love style practitioners, or not practitioners, people who have untraditional love styles, to go to have conversations about what they're going through and how to navigate that and what to be considering and how to have those conversations. And yes, Kim, absolutely. Feeling very uncomfortable with your own feelings because you get a lot of mirrors in this group.
Yes, it is very, very much sitting with the uncomfortable shit. And it's also a place to regulate. It's a place where we understand that this type of love style and this type of choice in our culture that we live in is a constant swim upstream. And that because we are constantly unpacking and dealing with our emotions, that it's important for us to regulate. So in terms of just logistical, what can you expect? We do breathe together. We do a little bit of meditation. We do share. We do reflect. We do write in our journals. You will walk away with a resource. We like to give a resource every month. Usually at least one resource. And like Sage said, we really encourage reflection. So a lot of the time is reflection and people sharing their personal experiences, relating on their personal experiences. And like Sage said, realizing that you're not the only one going through stuff, because it's every time people share and everyone's always like, wow, I came here thinking that I was going to be the only one sharing this. And like 4 other people, I can relate to exactly what you said. And so it helps us remember, I mean, that's why we collect as a group, right? Like it helps us. Oh, sorry, guys. That's why we collect as a group, is so that we can remember that as a community, we all we're all humans. We all kind of go through the same shit. So that's what you can expect coming to the space.
How did you two meet? How long have you embraced ethical non-monogamy?
Oh my God, that's my sister Auntie out here giving a question. Sorry, quick plug, because I'm that person. If you don't already follow Dr._midwife, you need to. If you support me as a Black birth worker, you need to be supporting Dr. Midwife. Yes. She is a gloriously brilliant Black doctor who's building the first freestanding birth center in Alabama. Could you support and love? And she also does an amazing live every Sunday called Sunday Cervix, where she is giving the gospel. She's giving us the gospel out here. So please go follow sister Auntie out here in these streets. Okay, now we can answer her question.
And also pay that money.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and also give money.
Yes. Thanks. Yes. Open them wallets. So I'm gonna say that. How did we meet? No, I'm just kidding. I've been ethically non-monogamous since 2013. And we met On Instagram.
Yeah, I was going to say, on the internet.
On the internet. On Instagram. We don't really know for sure who was following who or like what happened there.
I don't even know how that happened.
I don't know.
It was probably at the same time, to be honest.
It's probably just a mutual combustion of energy, as is our relationship. And yeah, we just kind of found each other on Instagram and we a little chitty chat. I'm telling the story. We chitty chatted for a little bit, and then I came and visited before I moved here, and
you taught an intensive.
I taught an intensive, and you crawled into my lap and gave me the biggest hug when I first met you. It was so sweet. And then you took me to breakfast the next day, and we had snooze, and she introduced me to pineapple upside down pancakes, and they were so good. And I was like, okay, well, now I'm in love with you, in true lesbian fashion. And then we kept talking, and then I moved here. And then Scouts did this really cool thing where we were hanging out one night. And I was like telling her about like my experiences in Austin and da-da-da-da-da. And she makes this like little jokey comment that's like, oh, well, I'm just going to be your best friend. And like, you're just going to tell me about everything. And I was just like, I'm trying to cultivate a relationship with this person and they don't like me. And so I was in my feelings about it. And then I was driving the next day and I got a Marco Polo from her, and she was like, listen, I don't know why I said that yesterday, but I don't want to just be your best friend. I actually like you, and I would like really like to have like an opportunity to like maybe like build a relationship with you. And I was like, absolutely, thank God.
I had done a meditation, y'all. I had been doing self-perk meditation for 40 days. Anyone who's a Kundalini knows how that works. And then I was like, why am I lying to you about how much I like you? Really, the reason is because another thing I've had to face about myself with polyamory is that I do not like competition. And if I sniff competition out from a mile away, I'm like, oh, I will excuse myself out of here as quickly as possible, because then I don't have to go through the pain of competing and losing. So, I was like, ooh, there are a lot of people trying to get your attention, and I don't want to be anywhere near that. That is usually how I am. And then I was like, ooh, no. I was like, never mind. I need to stay true to myself and live and love wild awake.
Yes.
Plug. And
we're having our 1 year anniversary next week.
Yeah, and next week is our 1 year anniversary.
Next week is our 1 year anniversary. It's very exciting.
Now we get to be cute. So that's how we met. And I have been ethically non-monogamous since like only 2016. So it has not been that long for me. Maybe 2015. Yeah.
Okay. Last question, because we getting on time and I think my phone's dying.
Yeah.
What advice would you give the person who is coming into the relationship but feels unwelcome by metas? How to approach the conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's
a great question.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as a person entering a relationship and things are feeling hard with metas, I think that it's important to recognize and remember that that's not about you, that your job and your responsibility in that relationship is to rebuild and build something new with this person. And just because other metas or other people have given them bad experiences doesn't mean that you have to add on to that piling of shit. And recognizing that it's your responsibility to show up into the relationship in a meaningful and authentic way. And if you are already showing up defensive and ready to be fighting or on guard, you are already creating a hostile environment. And so the best thing that you can do, I think, is going in there with as much of an open heart and as much as an open understanding and a willingness to co-create with someone in a gentleness to understanding and knowing that this shit is hard. It's hard to see your partners with other people. It's hard to break ourselves free of trauma and people who have treated us poorly and relationships that haven't worked out and that have caused a lot of, damage or harm to us. And that everyone's walking their own story in that way. And everyone's trying to overcome their things all at the same time. And so I think showing up with an openness and a willingness to try to co-create and be together while also having your own boundaries about what types of relationships you are trying to co-create and things that you will not engage in, right? Mm-hmm. Something I'm very clear about as well is like, I'm willing to get really nitty gritty with a meta and like however we need to be, but I will not compete with you. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
compete with anyone. And so that is not about that singular person. That is just about a boundary that I have around metas and competition. I just won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's important to have your boundaries, to know what you're trying to cultivate, and then having an openness and a willingness to meet people where they're at and recognizing that it's not about you, and to not take all of that personally and try to co-create something different.
Yeah, I think in recognizing that it's not about you, we have to remember our capacity for compassion and recognize that sometimes, especially when two people are involved in any type of dialogue, whoever has the deepest capacity in that moment for compassion has a responsibility to bring it to the conversation. And that if we really are trying to meet each other without our weapons drawn, like that's what we would do. And so sometimes that is, you know, one of us anchoring the other, sometimes it's both of us, but that if there is someone coming into the space with a little bit of that trauma and you see them bringing it out, to bring the compassion to the conversation of having the open heart and the willingness of like, hey, I see this and I'm not that person and I'm trying to be here with you. I'm trying to build trust. Do we want to talk about how that can happen? Do we want to talk about how our relationship can look? Because more often than not, the times when I've either experienced that or I've seen it, it is as a result of a lot of us thinking that if we don't talk about something, it makes it easier to deal with. So a lot of that has come from bonds where people have had don't ask, don't tell. I don't want to know about the other person. I don't want to know about the other partner. I want to know where you're going, what you're doing. And the only issue with that is that the other person stops being a human to you because you don't know them. And the more that you actually get to know them as a person, you don't have to be best friends if you don't want, but the more that you know them as a human being, they become a human being to you. So their needs become important, or at least like you can recognize that they're important to someone, even if they're not important to you. But when this person is an illusion, is a thought, is a concept in your head where you can make up stories about them, and you're not even sure if they're true, where you make up what you think their interaction with your partner is like, and you really have no idea, that cultivates the space for you to just, that person is no longer human to you, which means you can treat them like trash at the same time. So the more that that person becomes human to you, and I like to try to humanize myself as well as my metas in those relationships. And I personally like to have those close meta relationships, not because I'm always comfortable with it, but because it helps me humanize them. And the more they're human to me, the more I see them as a friend, the more I'm like, oh my God, they need support. They need love. And I might not be the one who they need it from, or I might not even want to be the one to do it. Even if we have personalities that clash or any of those things, but I can also respect that they deserve that from someone else because I see them as a human and not some made up story concept that I've created in my own head.
Mm-hmm. Yes, to all of that. I think that was all of our questions.
And that was a full hour of live. So y'all hung in.
Yes. Yes. Thanks for hanging out with us for the last hour. We just appreciate you all being here with us this evening. It's always really lovely to be in community with you all. Tickets are still live for our Love Wild Awake session on Sunday at 2 p.m. So head to the link in this bio, head to the link in my bio, head to the link in Scout's bio, links in all the bios. We would really love to see you all at Love Wild Awake. Even if it isn't something you've been to before, come check it out. Even if you can't come every month, come when you can. We're really trying to cultivate and build community, and we would love to do that with all of you. So we hope to see you there. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.